think it was Andy Edwards. You know Andy? It's like he was on Beato. He's like a English commentator on music.
Andy Edwards. Never heard of him.
Hello, Jim.
Hello, how you doing, mate?
I'm all right. Here we are, back facing each other, but I'm not behind the drum kit. I was going to do it. I was going to set another drum kit here, take it back to the old days.
It would have just intimidated me, to be honest.
So you were down yesterday to do the Danny Sapko Stranglers tribute.
Yeah.
You're currently drumming with the Stranglers,
yes,
which is a great gig. You've done a whole bunch of other stuff. Didn't you have a number one at some point? Or was that another student I'm thinking of?
It definitely wasn't me.
Didn't you play with someone that...
I played... When I first got a record deal, I was playing with a band called Envy and Other Sins.
Yeah.
And we, in the very early days of like reality television, we won one of these competitions.
Oh, is that what I'm
like
thinking
a pop
of?
idol
Yeah.
type thing, which did not project us straight to international fame. Our album went in at number 65.
That's not bad though, is it?
I mean, I took it at the time.
But that was back when people bought records, wasn't it?
Yes,
so
it was, yes.
It was an achievement.
Yeah. But it was really good. It didn't work out, obviously, but it was a good way of learning about the music industry, and I met enough people during that 2 years that was the last time I had a proper job, was then, and I've managed to just blag it since then.
Well, when you came in yesterday, you brought your drum kit in, you set up, and the big difference from when I knew you when you first started to now is every box has been ticked. It's so obvious that you're a professional drummer and everything's been thought of. And I want to really pick your brains about your thinking in terms of the kit, what you're trying to achieve with it, and then the technical stuff, tuning, setup, and all the little details I've noticed you've got going as well. So I'm hoping for drummers this will be cover a lot of actual pro stuff that they need.
Yeah.
So
But it's all about being a geek, isn't it, a drummer? We're all geeks.
I think so, yeah. I think so. So before we kick off, talking about that, how do you see technique and chops and speed in terms of your day-to-day working as a pro drummer?
I mean, for me, and obviously you're only sort of biased by your own experience, it's never been important for me because, I mean, you'll remember when I came to you to learn when I was younger. It's just never anything that I was interested in because of what my musical taste is.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, I have massive respect for guys like you that do the fusion thing and the jazz and all that sort of stuff. I don't want to listen to that kind of stuff, and I learned by listening to music and playing along with music. I just want to be in bands, and I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours learning how to go really, really fast and do complicated stuff, because the music that I want to play doesn't require me to do that.
But your music, all music requires a technique, because the technique is the method that you require. So how do you see your technique in terms of, you know, timing, groove, feel? What do you try and think of in terms of that?
Whenever I'm practicing, I tend to practice quite slow and aim for real accuracy.
Can you show us a couple of exercises you might, for drummers who really want to get the timing tight, the sort of thing you do?
I mean, I don't really do exercises or anything. I just literally put on records. I mean, at the moment, for example, I'm into Steve Jordan, because who's not into Steve Jordan? Everybody's into Steve Jordan. And just listening to records that he plays, and just, you know, it can be a really slow groove, but you've got to nail it. Like, it's not about playing exactly what he's playing. It's how does what he's playing feel? Like, if he's playing a double a quick double, because his feet are amazing and so fast. Lots of people can play that double, but what's the dynamic between the first hit and the second hit? Where's the emphasis on it? And
so this is where the detail is.
It's detail.
Well, I'll being a drummer myself, snare drum, are you hitting dead centre or off? So can you show us where you're hitting?
I tend to be just sort of an inch towards 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And try and be repeatable there. And obviously it'll change. You know, I'll come over here for some stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm doing drags or ghost notes or something like that, I'll tend to play a little bit closer to the microphone, just so that it's definitely going to pick it up.
Brilliant, yeah.
And also you get a bit more.
Or if you're playing quieter, would you move over to that?
Potentially, it depends. If you're trying to get a soft sound out of it, then I'd go closer to the middle. I mean, in my experience, you kind of want to stay away from the bang center of a drum.
Yeah.
Because it almost like, and it's probably just my ears, but I almost feel like the two heads phase a little bit. If you
I feel
bang
that
in
as
the
well,
middle.
and it feels like what comes back at you is like
yeah,
weird.
exactly. It kicks back.
Yeah.
And I practice a lot on electric drums, and that is quite good for teaching you this because you don't want to strike the cone underneath the head. So if you just come off it a little bit, you don't get that kind of machine gunning that the electric drum would give you.
And I forgot what I was going to say now. It was really interesting, that was. Rubbish.
But I mean, all
you don't have to keep going. We've just gone. It was all right up until then, wasn't it? I was doing really well, and you got me thinking about something. Then, right? I'll forget that. Rim shots? Do you rim shot or not?
I do tend to, but I know it's a bad habit. But I think that's just born from playing hundreds of gigs in bars, not necessarily with microphones on.
If you didn't rim shot the Stranglers, would that snare cut through?
It would because of the PA and the tech and everything, but it wouldn't for me. You know, the sound that I want to hear out of a backbeat is a rim shot. And I am trying to be much more disciplined about not doing it all the time.
Yeah.
Because physically as well, I'm getting old and everything's breaking, and I've got to take it a bit easier on my body. So
you can just give us a straight rock beat so we can have a look at the way your hands are working.
Now you're going to see me not do what I just said.
Yeah. Well. That's amazing. What I was going to say before is that so when you tune your snare drum, you have to make sure you're tuning it to that spot as well, don't you? Where you're hitting. Do you do that, or do you just
not really. I hadn't really thought about it. I mean, it's probably just that when I'm testing if I've tuned it correctly, I am.
You will naturally hit there without thinking.
But it's not something I do deliberately. I mean, I work quite a lot as a drum tech as well as being a player, so I'm quite into tuning and getting different sounds out of drums because
I'm looking at this snare drum. What head have you got on that? A Power Stroke?
So it's a Rima Power Stroke 3 coated, but the one without the dot.
Yeah.
So there's no reinforcement dot. It's not actually the one that I use live with the Stranglers. Stranglers is a much heavier head. That's what is that called? Emperor X coated with a dot. That's really thick.
And is that not so much for sound, just so because you want it to last longer, or is it part of the sound as well?
6 of 1, really. I mean,
because it'll give you a much more meatier sound, won't it?
Much meatier. There's not a lot of intricate playing with the Stranglers. It's backbeat.
Yeah.
So I don't. There's no responsiveness out of that head whatsoever, unless you really crank it up. But I'm not allowed to do that because the sound man shouts at me. So he wants a dull 3070s thing. That kind of just does it straight out of the box, so that's where I use it. And also, they sell them in black, and it looks cool. So,
are they coated?
Yeah, but they're
coated in black.
They're not coated like an Emperor coated. It's like I think they're called suede.
Oh yeah.
So it's black suede because it's like I love coated. If I'm going to record, coated Emperors all day.
Yeah.
But for live, I use the suede heads because the coating doesn't come off. So you can have them on for 3 months on the toms, and you don't get that kind of. They don't look worn.
No.
Which is kind of. You want to look.
Well, you don't care what it looks like, really.
Yeah, of course you do.
What's your approach to before we get in, am I right? Is that a 13-inch snare?
No, it's 14.
That's 14.
14
because your toms are so big, isn't it?
14 by 6.5. That's 13 by 9, and 16 by I think it's 16. This is only the second time I've ever played this.
Yeah, this is your new kit, isn't it? So just tell us what the kit is. Of course, I endorse British Drum Company drums, which are wonderful drums, but this is a beautiful kit and looks to me a little bit like the old 1930s Slingerland Radio King Gene Krupa style to me. Is that right?
It is exactly that, yeah. It's a Slingerland Radio King. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that shallower bass drums are back in fashion again.
It's all I've ever played. I've still got quite a lot of drum kits, but I don't really want to play anything deeper than 14.
Yeah,
that's the bass drum size.
Because the pillow don't stretch across, does it?
No, exactly. Yeah, and you've got to put some more expensive duvet.
Yeah, all sorts of packing with also. So, tell us a little bit how you would approach tuning the snare drum.
So, I mean, for years I used to find it quite scary tuning snare drums. because until you understand the relationship between the top and the bottom head and the snare wires, it can be quite tricky to get it right. So what I'll basically do when I'm reheading a drum, do the bottom head first, get it all up to a tension where I know roughly what pitch I want it to go, which is for me is quite low. Then I'll put the top head on, tune it opposites until I get the head under tension, and it must be even under tension at the lowest tension. And then I'm not too finicky about going opposites from that point. I can go round it. I'll just get it up.
Well, I'll tell you what we could do.
Go on.
I've got an old Tammer.
No pressure.
Drum here.
Christ.
Right. This is it's pretty much what Simon Phillips would have. Well, it's one of his snare drums. So, say you've got to a studio. This happened to me on Wednesday. You get to studio, they've got a nice drum there. They want you to use it.
Yeah.
But you quickly got to get that into place.
Yeah.
You know. Do you want to show you what you do?
Okay, so.
I mean, I've chosen this, so I'm hopefully saying, well, this is pretty. It's pretty much in there. It's perfect.
Perfect. I mean, it's not far off, is it? The snare sounds about right. So, I use my stool, put it on the stool because that's killing the bottom head so you can't hear it.
I've never thought of that. See, I've learned something. I've never thought of doing that.
Then I would...
Have you lost your key already?
No, I've got it. I've always got one. So I put a finger in the middle, but you're not pushing because that'll alter the pitch of the drum. It's just to take the sound, it's so you can hear the harmonic. Like, you know how you pull a harmonic on a guitar string? It's the same thing you're doing here.
You just touch it.
And then I'll just go... We're low there. So those two.
I was chatting with Jim about this outside when he was having a rest, and I said I don't know how to do this, so it's quite nice for me to...
We're low there as well. So what's happening here is this drum. Sometimes you get drums that aren't quite round.
Yeah.
This drum has got a bit more tension going in that direction than that one because these lugs are low and these ones are higher. So it's probably fractionally out of round.
It's a very old. It's about 30 years old.
Most drums are. You know, that's just one of the things that happens in particularly wooden ones. And then you're listening. You're not listening for the note that the stick is making. You're listening for the harmonic on top of that. So that.
Oh, I can hear it.
See what I mean? Because you'll never tune to the actual tap because it's almost like the noise is too loud.
Yeah.
You're listening to that little bit. Bam, 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 bam. So those are a bit low still. And then you basically just carry on doing that until the thing sounds good. Drop it up so you put. That sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, and then, even though you haven't altered the pitch, it sounds like you've tightened the whole thing up and it's more punchier. Yeah,
exactly. And you'll just get the shell singing a little bit more when it's all doing it in the same time, if it makes sense. It's the resonant note, not the note of the head that you're listening to. I mean that sounds nice now. And then me being me, I would obviously damp that.
You get the elephant to sit on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But the thing that's interesting, what's fascinating for me is I've always... hang on. What's fascinating for me is when I do meet someone who's actually a pro drummer, they're out doing the proper gigs, they've got the techs, they've got the PAs. This is where I class as technique, is this is the knowledge you have to have, because you have to be ready for anything. And when you're on a massive gig and the engineer's saying, "Oh, that floor tom's hanging," and you go, "Well," and you're supposed to do something about it. You know, what are your approaches to toms? I see you using moon gel.
Yeah, I use these ones. They're called Drum Honey. These ones, I think they're by Mineal or something. Yeah, Mineal. And I like them better. This is super geeky because they come in the packet with these little films on the top of them, so you can leave those on the top of them, and they don't get all the swarf from your sticks stuck to them, so they last longer.
And pubes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's with a horrible roadie's pube, because they scatter those wherever they go, don't they?
It's like marking territory. Yeah. So I'm not scared to to damp drums. Like there's a whole kind of thing about you must leave them open. If you have to use damping, you can't tune. Bollocks. Like it's all rubbish, complete rubbish. Yeah, I've worked with the best drum techs in the world, the best drummers in the world. Dave Grohl. You go and look at Dave Grohl's kit when he's set up to do a Foo Fighters gig. It's covered in gaffer tape. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Great big crosses of it on the bottom of the heads and stuff. It's about what's appropriate for the sound that you're trying to get. It's got nothing to do with being a purist about it. Like you get paid money as a tech or a player to get to where you're trying to get to quickly. And
the thing, what people don't realise, because I've been one of these tone people. If you're doing a jazz gig and you're not mic'd up and you're in a club, you want that to sing. When you get into a big venue, it doesn't matter whether your Tommy's lasting for a fraction of a second or maybe a second.
Nope.
The reverb in that room is lasting for 3, 4, 5 seconds.
Yeah, and the front of house engineer is going to gate it anyway.
Yeah. So Gavin Harrison said this about bass drums. I was very pernickety about never having a pillow in my bass drum, and then he said it's all well and good. He said, but once that bass drum's in the room's going to ring itself with that bass tone. So I thought it's every drummer I know who's doing this properly has got dampening on. So I think it's nice to have exploded that myth.
I think, like you say, it's horses for courses. If the gig, I'm working with a drummer called Ben Stone at the moment. Absolutely phenomenal drummer, plays for 10cc, and he's a brilliant tuner. He's extremely pernickety about the way he wants his drums tuned, which is fair enough. That's what we get paid for. And he really doesn't want things to be damped. He doesn't want moon gels and stuff because he likes to have his ungated kit in his ears. He wants to hear it singing. But if you know what you're doing with the tuning, you can get to the point where you can almost tune dampening into particularly floor toms. And actually, he plays a DW kit. And he's got I've seen these before.
Yeah,
but
so they got no tone anyway, have they?
Well, they're careful. This is owned by DW. They've got these really cool floor tom legs, which I might get a couple for this actually, where the leg closest to you has got a little screw on the top of the leg, and it'll drive a spike into the ground behind the leg, and it grounds the drum, and it's unbelievable the difference it makes. It effectively dampens the drum. It's fantastic. And it just makes you think about how that
You're
works.
covering a really esoteric thing. I've never heard anyone talk about it. If you've got a bass drum and you put a weight in it, it seems to make the tuning tighter. And yes, the big weight inside, Simon Phillips puts his famous paint, tins of paint with sand in them. But I always felt having the bass drum rooted more, the more the toms and the drums are rooted, the more the sound seems solid. That's really interesting because I've never known what to go for in terms of floor toms, whether to have legs or have them on a thing.
I think legs. I mean, I used to have a kit with suspended toms, floor toms, and they just aren't solid. Like, I mean, some people don't like that, but for me, if I do quite a lot of things where I've got to ride a floor tom, and I don't want it moving around.
No.
I want it to be where it is because I'm playing it quickly. So I think it's much better, and they are a bit more controllable resonance wise if you've got legs on them. I think personally, it's always amazed me, sort of makes me chuckle that you'll pay loads and loads of money for drums and they'll come with these marvellous air suspension kits and like the way they've isolated the hardware from the thing, and people will pay thousands and thousands of pounds to have all these extra bits and then they'll put moon gel on it.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's what was the point of any of that? Like,
so they got a suspension system on their toms. No engineer can put a mic on it because they go, I'm trying to. I've never understood this. You're this one here.
Rack tom,
You've got that on a snare cradle. That's become a bit fashionable recently. Have you always done that?
I've always done it, mainly because I like the ride quite central, and I was annoyed by having the mounting for any toms or anything just in the way. And I mean, these kits, I don't think they even sell them with a tom mounting bracket now.
No,
it's just even though it's on the tom. I don't think you could buy it as an option.
That's amazing.
And it just looks cooler, doesn't it? I mean, it looks way cooler having it like that.
I suppose so. See, what I think looks really cool is at least 5 toms across the front.
Speaking as a drum tech, no. Get out of it. One up. I mean, this should be 2 down. I've got an 18 coming for this, but it hasn't turned up yet. So 1 up, 2 down, maybe 2 up, 2 down if you want to be silly about it.
Can you give us some toms and so people can hear it, you know?
So at the moment they're tuned quite open because of what we were doing yesterday.
Yeah.
I like having the floor tom relatively close to the kick drum, so the relationship between the 3 drums is quite close, because especially on a lot of Stranglers material, there's a lot of interplay between the toms and the kick drum. Like there's a track called Genetics where it's a pattern that goes around the toms.
Oh, that's the tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, and if I try and play it now, I'm going to make an absolute.
Oh, go on, have a go. I'll edit it. Get into it.
It's something
Bit
like
more. We're now going to do that 40 times. Do you remember that? What, 40 times? Yeah, we'll do it 40 times.
Yeah. It is quite hard to play it like.
It's horrible.
And I don't even do it quite right, but
No,
it's
that's
close
great.
enough that nobody's going to know.
Standing over on top of it, I'm really in the zone where the mics are. There's these drums are like really meaty. They do have sustain, but there's nothing that you would worry about. There's nothing hanging over it. It's all quite even. Your bass drum as well has got enough tone and sustain to match with your floor tom.
Exactly, yeah. It needs to sound like a drum kit, not just a collection of drums.
Yeah. Have you got any tips for tuning the drums together? Do you what, like notes or?
I find each kit that I work on will have one drum that's a pain in the arse. And it doesn't want to play. Like, normally it's a floor tom.
Really?
Yeah, for me anyway. Because the smaller the drum, the easier it is.
Always a 12-inch tom for me.
Well, I don't have one. Like,
That's old.
the smaller the drum, the easier to tune. First of all, they've got less lugs,
Yeah.
so there's just less fanning about with it. And secondly, they just sit nicer in a range of pitches. Whereas a floor tom, particularly if you've got an 18, I tend to start down the bottom of the kit, because there will be quite, for me anyway, there's quite a narrow envelope of that sounding good where I want it to sit.
Jumes just said something really useful for drummers. When you tune your toms, you'll want to go high to low. That's the intuitive way. The actual best way is to go low to high.
Yeah.
Because people will try and make that first tom sound like a cannon, won't they? And actually it needs to be up higher.
Yeah.
And so when you get down to the bottom, you haven't got enough low.
Yeah.
Putting it out to tune him in, so you go low to high.
I go low, and one thing that I think is a good tip for people when they're trying to get into tuning is when you're doing gigs, how your drums sound when you play them in the room, when you're sitting behind them, is not how they're going to sound out there, and it is not how they're going to sound when you're on a microphone. So I will always tune with my ear acoustically in a room, and then I'll put my in-ears in and tune again on the microphones, because that's what the PA is going to hear.
Yeah.
And, you know, the way the microphones sit in the relationship between the drums and the cymbals and the kick drum and the resonance of the snare drum, you've got to hear that and then adjust accordingly.
I want to talk to you about in-ears. I'm moving sort of from your technique to the sound of the actual drums and then to the mics. Let's talk about cymbals then. You play the same cymbals as me, Dream.
Yeah, beautiful.
They are incredible cymbals,
They
aren't
are
they?
incredible cymbals, yeah. I absolutely love them. I love that they've got these particular ones that I'm using are all Crash. That's a Crash, but mostly it's Crash Rides, because they're really thick, but they've still got some tone. Because I do kind of hit a little bit too hard, really, when I'm playing the gig, and I can break them. So rather than swapping them all the time, I've just gone for something really heavy. But I find that they're really versatile, because you can ride them, you can crash them, and they aren't just loud. Like, there's some tone to them. They do.
Do you want to try a couple of mine out?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I want to show you a couple of things that are really interesting about Dream. I will try this one, right? Try this one. This one is the Dark Matter 24-inch ride.
See, I really ought to play Dark Matter because that's what the last Stranglers album was called.
Stop, yeah. So this is what I mean by cymbals. This is a 24-inch ride cymbal.
So here's another tech tip. I couldn't move that then because the bottom of my cymbal stands have all got Velcro on them.
Oh, really?
So that when I smash a cymbal, the stand doesn't walk away from
Brilliant!
it.
I've never thought that. Just a pad of Velcro.
Yeah, it's all taped onto the bottom of it.
I've got another ride cymbal, but I've kept this one on as a crash.
Really?
Yeah. It's lovely, and the thing is, it's 24. So you went, Andy's got a gong for you, but it's not like that. And all the Dream, I find you can crash and ride them, a lot of them. And I've just got this, which you've got to try this out. It would be this is no use.
Flat one.
The Paul Vertico 22-inch flat ride. I'm absolutely in love with it. It's actually got me back into drumming again because.
Oh, that's lovely.
So try one heavy rock beat on that.
Because you can crash it and wash it.
Yeah.
But it's not too loud.
Not too loud, yeah.
Because if you do that with some big rock cymbals, it's just all of a sudden you've got to bring the volume of everything else up just to get over the top of that. But you could do that, like on a bar gig. You can still get that dynamic out of the cymbal without just pissing everybody off that you're playing too loud.
I think we push the Dream cymbals. They'll all be happy. David, you happy with that? Me and Jim representing.
Yeah,
Clip it. Get it on Instagram.
Dave, send us some more stuff.
Yeah, we'll do. They can do this in the cow because I was only up the road from me. This is something that's interesting. I don't have these bits on. I just stopped years ago.
Really?
I kept losing them. And if I've got a big weighty cymbal, I will have just the thing sat there. But I don't hit. I'm trying not to hit so hard. You see.
This is the problem. They would all fall off if
with you. So mics. Now, you've got my mics on the kit except for your bass drum.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed to find that you've actually got 2 bass drum mics wired into your bass drum.
Yeah.
So you turn up with those already in there.
Yes. Well, we turn up when Stranglers tour a full mic package, but the kick drum mics are permanently in there. There's a 91 and a 52 Shures on Kelly shoe mounts, which are suspension mounts within the drum. So the microphone isn't touching anything. And it's completely consistent, doesn't move even 10 millimeters day to day, which is great for in-ear monitors because it's very specific and it's obviously the loudest thing in your mix. And it's quite good for the mics as well because it transports them.
Yeah.
Those 91s particularly are a bit of a sort of known pain in the arse for breaking. The XLR connection's not very good, so this never gets unplugged because there's just an XLR tail that comes out the front of the drum. So everything just sits nice, happy, works all the time. We never, to be honest, by the time you put it in once, you line check it, it works, you never think about it again.
And I mixed your drums yesterday, and so I put you one mic up and I went, that's an amazing sound. I got the other mic, so I got 2 choices of sound. If I wanted, I could just do separate. When I put them both up, they were so matched. And I think a part of it is because you got your 52 right in line.
Well, it's actually ever so slightly off axis in both directions, so it's just above center on the height wise, and then it's just off center directionally.
Yeah, so you're not getting.
But it's pointing at the center.
But what I meant is you've got it in sort of roughly in the middle of the drum, which often when you're poking it through the little hole, it's a bonkers place to mic a bass drum. Is down there in the corner.
It's only there because you don't want to get in the way of the graphic. It's ridiculous, really.
And see, what people don't realise about the sound hole on your bass drum, that's there for dampening. It's not there to stick the mic in.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the studio, they'll rip your front head off, won't they?
All the time,
And I think this is a really good way of getting close to that sound.
Yeah.
But what I did with your mics was the 52, I put a little bump around about 80. Mm-hmm. And then what's the other one in there?
91.
The 91, I put it up in the upper mids. And
the
then put those
91's there to give you the kind of attack and the click.
Yeah.
And the 52 is the body of the sound.
So when you're watching this and it's playing, that mix I'm talking about is what you're hearing. So if you're going, oh my God, that bass drum sounds insane, that is how he does it.
Slingerland, obviously it's a
Slingerland, the way you've tuned it.
Just get a 58 on there, it sounds great.
You've got 2 I'll try and take a photograph inside it if I can. You got 2 tiddly pillows in there.
Yeah, they came with the drum actually. I would normally have a
Duvet?
not a duvet. Because I am a massive mega geek, I do have specific specifications for that as well. I use a velvet blanket, darling.
Really?
Yeah, because it's heavy and it's soft and it doesn't move around too much. I find anything that's like towels or cotton or anything a bit scratchy and a bit like does its own thing, whereas velvet just sort of sits there and just kills the front and the back.
Yeah, and also imagine the actual sound that's running around. Towels don't dampen that sound; they just hold. But when you've got pillow-wise, I always like a feather pillow because it's heavier and you feel it's actually dampening
it's a bit
down.
of weight, yeah.
A bit of
and
weight.
I've got, because I'm again a bit of a nerd, got a felt strip on the front head as well. That's mainly because it looks cool.
You're old school, aren't you?
Yeah, I like a vintage look, and I like the little, because I'm a real geek about it and about tuning and drum techie stuff. I like little things like that because other fellow nerds will go, "Oh, yeah, that's cool."
And so, what mics would you be using on your kit to the snare toms and overheads?
We've got. I'm just trying to think now. I've got a 604 on a rack tom, 904s on the 2 floors, 57 snare bottom, beat a 57 snare top, and then overhead. I've just got a second snare which has got the same mics on it. Although to be honest, it's not really critical. I've sometimes put a 604 on the bottom of that. Overheads, Shure KSMs.
Which is what these are, isn't it?
No.
These are PG. What's it sort of?
And then I can't remember what we used on the hi-hat. Something fairly generic on the hi-hat, and the same one on the ride.
And none of those mics are super expensive, are they? None of those, because this is a really good tip, is that mics are actually cheaper than you think, aren't they?
Those overheads are getting up there price-wise, but they're not insane. But it's not about price so much when you specifying anything. And I think this is true for anything on a drum kit. It's really important if you're a professional player and you're travelling a lot. Great when you've got your kit, but you often don't have your kit. So do not become reliant on anything that's really specific, because you'll go to brilliant if you've got your trick kick pedals and if you've got the budget to fly them and whatever, great, good on you. But when you go to Serbia or Croatia or something, they're not going to have them. So if you're really reliant on it to get your sound, then you're stuffed, aren't you? You've got to.
We'll delve into this more when we get sort of that, the actual being out on the road and stuff that you've learned.
So super generic mics wise, because if we're not touring a mics package, if you go to any major festival, they're going to have all those mics.
Can you tell me about something that I know nothing about and I've only ever used once in my whole life? In-ears.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Now, you obviously haven't got any here because we're in a little room, but what you use in-ears, don't you?
I do, yes.
So you're not reliant on a monitor.
These in-ears, Cosmic in-ears, which are fantastic. I've been on these for about 8 years now, and they're brilliant.
So if somebody wants to go to in-ears, say even they're doing just normalish type of gigs, what would you suggest they need, and what would you?
Well, the first thing I would say is I don't think it's a very good idea to be on in-ears unless you have or are regularly using a monitor engineer. If you're mixing your own sound or relying on just a random walk-up house engineer, don't be on in-ears.
That's what's always put, and I've never been in a position for years where I've got a consistent engineer.
If you need to hear a click, then fine. You can have a little desk and do your own mix, but you probably won't do a very good job of it.
Yeah.
And you're basically ruining your own gig. It's better in that situation to just have a wedge. In a pub or something, just have a wedge, have some amps. If you need to hear more of them or less of them, move them around, do what you want. That said, if you're working at a level where it's commensurate with using in-ears, they're amazing. Like, they're the best thing going. First of all, we do use click tracks live, and obviously then you have to have in-ears. But just the consistency of every time we do a gig, it's going to sound basically the same. I mean, obviously it changes venue to venue, but your engineer will compensate for that, and it just allows you complete control over the sound that's on the stage as well, because you haven't got really loud wedges everywhere bleeding into every microphone.
And what about the Stranglers? Are they on in-ears?
Everybody's on ears, yeah. And we've actually got a totally silent stage, so there's no noise coming out of any instruments apart from the drum kit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Stranglers, who in their bloody, the latter part of their lifespan, they're on bloody in-ears and got no bloody amps on stage.
No.
Even they've got no amps on stage, the Stranglers.
No.
This is how the world's changed, isn't it?
Well, again, it's just coming back to that thing about going, touring and having consistency on tour. On the guitars we're using Kempers. The bass is DI'd through an effects rack, but it's still DI'd. And the keyboards is obviously DI'd because we're clearly not going to have a Leslie cabinet or anything like that. So it's just our gig travels around in 3 or 4 boxes.
But I saw you live. There were amps on stage.
Well, there were boxes on stage.
With the real players inside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's not true, by the way.
The second drummer's sitting in the back of there. Yeah.
The drum machine.
Yeah. Well, we don't always have them. To be fair, we sometimes will have them. Stages can look a bit weird without them if you haven't got production. So we'll put them in if we think that they look better to be there. But it's not. You're not hearing them.
Now, one thing that surprised me, when you came just to play my little studio and doing our little gig, you still were very keen to set up, for want of a better name, because I do not know what they're called. I will call them the Bum Blaster.
Yeah.
You have a Bum Blaster, which for those, can you just point to where
I
it's
do.
at?
It's down here.
It's not just a
crap.
rest for his fags. This.
Not that I have fags, Sophie, if you're watching.
Yeah, I put my fags on there.
Yeah.
Not that I smoke, kids. If you
So
want.
this is a Porter and Davis BC2, which is a tactile monitoring machine. So it's connected to my seat, and every time I hit the bass drum, it feeds a kick into my arse, basically.
So if you think it's not actually producing sound, is it? It's producing a thump up the bum, basically. It's the only way to describe it. That sits in between your mics. Is that right?
In here it did, because
so you can do it that way. Just put it in between,
like
or
when we play live, I actually don't use this one live. I've got a slightly more powerful one, but
So how powerful is that one?
Oh, I don't know. This one, I've used these for years, and they are brilliant.
It looks powerful to me. I wouldn't, with my bottom, I wouldn't feel I need any more than that, to be honest. But you're there go, this one's not enough.
I kept breaking them. So we now have one. They do another one called the TT6, which runs off an actual monitor amp. So you don't need any of this stuff. It just plugs into an amp by the PA, and it just goes into your seat.
Though I have used these a couple of times, I have to be honest, these are unbelievable.
They're incredible.
It's basically just putting the thump. It's no sound. It's vibration going up your bum. But to you, it sounds like the bass drum, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I think their like spiel says that your brain isn't capable of distinguishing between feeling it and hearing it. And I don't know whether that's true or not, but it certainly feels true to me.
Yeah.
I genuinely struggle to play without
what
that
you're
now.
saying is, rather than in your ear, if you're having it up your arse, your brain can't tell the difference.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I have a little tickle of kick drum in my ear as well.
And Jimmy managed to not even flinch when I said that.
It was because I work with a lot of drummers.
He's been on the road a lot. Yeah, they are incredible. I really want to get one.
Yeah.
I know other guys that have got them, they swear by them, because for me, if I've got the bass drum in the monitor, I don't actually need anything else on most gigs.
Yeah. Well, this is such a good lifeline, because if you do have bad sound or whatever, if a technical problem happens or something, you can just have that, and it will at least you know where you are. And there's such this particular one, the Porter and Davis. Shout out to Tim, by the way. Is such a leap on from what it was before. I mean, they've been around for years. There was a Pearl one, a butt kicker or something, I think it was called. But they were rubbish. They bolted onto the bottom of the seat. There was loads of latency.
So how do these connect with the seat then?
It's just NL4 cable that goes out there and just plugs into the bottom of the seat.
So the seat comes with it?
Yeah. It's the throne top and the amp, and they're just phenomenal. I mean, they're so ubiquitous now. I mean, literally, almost every drummer is using them. It's rare to find somebody that hasn't got one.
No,
at pro level.
I'm thinking to get one just for here. So that I can
the best thing about this one, this is the one that I used to have on the road, but as I say, I kept knackering them up. So I took this home, and at home I practice on an electric kit, and I have that wired through it, and it's brilliant.
Feels like a real kit.
Yeah, amazing.
Because there's all those stories. So many times that I know where there's been a drummer live and their click goes down, and so they have to feed it to the tech, and then the tech will either thump the guy in the back or kick the bottom of the snare drum, and it acts as a click, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've done that. I've sat and punched the bottom of a drummer's stool. Tapped them on the leg to tell them where the click is and stuff. Because
at least I got me a bloody title for the video. I thumped the bottom of a drummer's stool.
Fisting my boss. The Jim Macaulay story.
So once you're all ready, and you're going to go out on tour, I noticed when you brought your stuff in, we can't see it. Lots of really hard cases. Your cymbals in something that you could shoot at with a bloody Colt 45. Yeah. So it's all boxed up. It's all in there, tight to go.
Yeah, everything. I mean, those cases that I bought here, but those aren't actually my cases. I've got everything goes in trunks for me because I like. I mean, it's a bit luxurious, obviously, because we're touring in trucks and stuff, but. It's good for me, particularly with mics in drums and things, that they don't get chucked. So if they're in a trunk, they can't get tipped. They just roll gently to where they're going to go, and nobody ever breaks them. But
it's also easier for crew to just pick one thing and wheel it in onto the stage than you've got them trying to bring in those hard cases.
And you're less likely to lose stuff and stuff like that. So it's definitely good. But when if we fly in, we'll strip down a little bit, and I've got bits that go in different boxes just so because you obviously can't check in trunks and things and we have to be a bit more lean when we're on a fly gig, but we don't do loads and loads of those, to be honest, so don't worry about it too much. But your kit is only going to be as good as your cases. Don't skimp on your cases.
Totally right. Spend the same on the cases, really, if you're doing proper touring.
Absolutely.
So give us. This will be now the fun bit of the video as we move to the end. Those of you who stuck with it through all this technical talk, it's not the normal thing we do, but this is extremely useful. Anybody who's suddenly got a reasonable gig, make tribute band, or just going up a gear, and they're doing a lot of gigs. It happens if you've just got a lot of pub gigs. You've then got to think about. So, what can go wrong? Give us some examples of the sort of thing that...
I mean, anything, and you should be prepared for absolutely everything to break, because everything on doesn't matter how good your drum kit is, everything breaks on it, everything. So, you should always have a spare snare, absolute bare minimum, because that can go, the bottom head on your snare can pop without you even playing it sometimes, and that's a nightmare. So, always have a spare snare. Kick drum pedal, always have a spare kick drum pedal. I've broken every part of a kick drum pedal over the years. A lot of people say hi-hat stand, but I don't bother with that. But definitely a clutch.
Yeah, a couple of clutches in there.
They fall apart all the time. I carry a spare crash just in case we break one while we're out on a long run. And then there was a recording studio, or like a rehearsal studio in Stourbridge, near where I live, that shut down when I was about 16 or something, and they cleared it out, made it into flats, and I went and bought off the bloke who had it. He had a great big plastic box like this full of bits that he'd stripped off all drum kits that he'd ever thrown away, and I bought that off him. It was massive, and I spent about a week going through it and sorting it all, like different sizes of washers, different sizes of tents and bolts, stuff like that. And nowadays I've got loads of different toolboxes that are on different gigs. And I have those fishing tackle boxes just with little bits, because when you're going kit to kit, if you're on rental kits and stuff, tension bolt thread sizes are different, gauges of tension bolts are different, gauges of washers are different, and just to have a little cheap box of, I can go anywhere in the world on any standard of rented bit of equipment, because they vary a lot, and it will be broken when you get there, but you can fix it because you've got...
Can you explain how this works when you're touring the world, that the sort of different approaches that... Because people don't think about this. I've known people who have huge gigs, like Leo Crabtree in The Prodigy. He said that his kit is basically set up in a box and lifted onto the plane and goes around the world like that. I think Simon Phillips has got duplicate setups on each continent.
Yeah.
And you think about the logistics of any of this... Stranglers are a big band, but you're not putting your kit on set up onto a plane.
No, we don't freight equipment ever, really. Not sea or air freight. We would freight some stuff when we go and play in Australia. We'd freight it, but we don't take shells. So you have you'll pick up a local drum kit everywhere, really, apart from Europe. And if you're lucky enough to be tied to a endorsement deal like I am with Slingland, then you will specify I would like a Slingland drum kit or a DW because that's the same company. 9 times out of 10 you'll get it. Sometimes you won't. Sometimes, occasionally, it's fantastic and it's better than what you've got at home. But at least 7 times out of 10, it's showing its age, to be polite about it. So normally just stuff needs a little bit of finessing and fixing. But this is what I'm saying about before, about not using anything too specific. You know, I tend to play coated Emperor heads on toms because every single backline company in the world will be able to get me coated Emperors for my toms. Whereas if I went to something a bit weirder, like, I don't know, like a coated CS dots or something, maybe they could get them, but they'd have to have a lot of notice, and it would probably cost a fortune because they would have to re-head the drum kit just for me to use it. So keeping everything really generic, really, like, you know, I use DW hardware, I use it because it's the best, but also the fact that it's the best means that it's absolutely bulletproof, so backline rental companies buy it because you can't break it. So when I go anywhere, I'll have exactly the same stands as I use at home, and I'm using them because I know that. So when I go, I haven't got to bother measuring or anything because I've set this stand up millions of times. I know that is, you know, 4 inches on the bottom middle section, 2 inches on the top section. If I do that on the rental ones, it'll be the same because it's the same stand. Same with pedals. I use a DW 5000 pedal because every backline company has them, and therefore I don't need to fly mine, and it saves the production money.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've never thought like that.
It saves everybody money, and that's, you know, if getting consistent work as a professional is about being easy to work with, and if you're too pernickety or you're really expensive because you insist on having your own gear everywhere, eventually it just annoys people. And then if there's somebody that's like as good as you and doesn't do those annoying things, they'll get the gig.
You don't realise it. Being pro is basically number one. Not being annoying, isn't it?
Not being annoying. It's 100% not being annoying. I mean, I'm not the best drummer. Like, there's loads of people who are better at playing the drums than me. I've got a job because I'm good at touring, not because I'm good at playing the drums.
Whereas I'm really annoying.
Well, you know.
That's the problem. You know, I can bloody play 11/8. But in a very annoying way.
Yeah, there's not much call for 11/8.
I got to be honest.
Sabrina Carpenter does not want a drummer.
I tell you something. It's like doing this YouTube channel, and it's turned into a bit of a comedy channel. That banter, I wasn't like that when I was young. This is the banter that I developed to make touring and gigging and being in bands bearable.
Yeah.
So that if you're all travelling around, everyone's having a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
You're enjoying it, aren't you? You know. And
that's what it's all about. I mean, it's a cliche, but like, you're only on stage for an hour and a half, aren't you? The rest of the time, 6-week tour.
Yeah.
You're just hanging out with each other, and if someone's really annoying, then you're not going to ring them again. You have to develop ways of being on tour that, you know, gets you out. You know, you need to be able to manage your mental health as well as you manage the drum kit or your guitar collection or whatever. Like, if you allow it to mentally take its toll on you, then you won't want to do it, and nobody will want to do it with you.
And then on the other side of it, I can remember you said something that's always stuck in my mind, and it's always made me really laugh. We were somewhere, I think I was in a clinic, you came to see it, and somebody said, the drummers are always the nicest ones in the band, and you went, yeah, but it's not a high bar.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Because touring's difficult, isn't it? Once you're in a room and once you're with someone, and you start to see them day by day, it's bloody hard, isn't it?
Well, it has a habit of, like, it preys on the weak. Like, you won't. People just don't last very long if they're not cut out for it. And don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like that's not a criticism of anybody who struggles to do it or doesn't want to do it. It just takes quite a specific type of personality. You've got to be
we've gone from very technical stuff back to, like, now we're getting to mental state. This is the most important thing. And I think the reason why you had success, because you had the guts to say to me in a lesson many, many years ago, yeah, I noticed you weren't really into doing what I was doing, and I said to you, "What do you want to do?" And you knew what you wanted to do, and what you wanted to do is exactly what you do now, which is being a band that plays their own music, tours at a proper level. Yeah. You weren't bothered about money, but you wanted to be able to do that. And I said, "Well, what about in a tribute band, or what about playing at Butley's?" No.
Yeah.
And once you've got that in your mind as a goal, then you can work to. Nobody can work towards a goal which they haven't got.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
And I think that's why you've had a lot of success, is because you knew what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And talking to you now, you've been very clear in going, "It's not what I do.
No,
this is what I do."
Well, you can't be all things to all men, can you?
Yeah.
And like I'm sort of sensible enough to recognise what I'm good at and what I'm not very good at, and yeah, obviously we all try and work on the things we're not good at all the time to get better overall with our complete package. But you're not going to shoehorn, if I get offered gigs that I know I'm not going to do a good job of, I don't take them. And I don't take auditions where I know I'm going to turn up and make myself look a tit. Because, you might only get the opportunity to meet people once or twice. You don't want to turn and then think,
to remember that.
Crap. Like I want that person that might be booking me to see me doing something that I'm doing well.
Yeah, I think that's a very wise bit of advice. And as you say that, I think there's a companion to this idea of knowing what you want to do and knowing your limitations and all that. But I also think when you decide you've got a goal, you've got to work out whether you can actually stomach it, i.e. if it comes true, will you be able to deal with it? And that's a big thing with the music industry. And my advice to you when you said you wanted to be, I said, you're going to have to go up and down the whole country, because you ain't going to find a decent band in your local town. You've got to find the best band and play in it, because they will lead you through. I said, but you're going to have to go up and down the country, and you did it. I remember you went off and did it, auditioned all over the place, hundreds of bands.
Yeah, I did. I actually felt really, really lucky in the end, because the band that I ended up joining and becoming pro with,
they were in Birmingham.
Well, they relocated to Birmingham because they were touring, and Birmingham's in the middle of the country. So they were like, well, they've moved from Suffolk to Birmingham, and I've met them in Birmingham, basically. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, once you drive in, which you have to do, obviously, everywhere, I know lots of people over the years moved to London to be musicians. Well, why are you doing that for? Because
2 hours from here,
it's an hour and a half from my house, and it's quarter of the price to live here, which means I've got to find quarter of the amount of work.
If you want to know the thing, I mean, it wasn't my idea. I actually sat in the lesson and we worked it out between us. I can remember it as clear as day, because it was such a different lesson, and I was asking you lots of questions. And the conclusion we came up with was that you should go off, audition for every band going all over the country, and then you would bring the sort of three best ones that you'd got the auditions with back to my studio. And I can remember, I think it might even been a cassette tape or a CD. I can remember the Envy and Other Sins thingy. And when you played me the three bands, and I was like, well, this one's the best one.
Yeah, they were a well-established band already at that point. And they were. I mean, they were
just great, and
they were great. And what was the sort of the magic of that was that we all loved each other. I mean, I've been in a recording session with two of them this morning.
Yeah, I know. He pushed back my session to go and see. I'm very envious of that. I am.
Accidentally double booked to do a percussion overdub.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think we're coming up to the hour. And that
an hour?
That will run out.
Sorry.
I want to do something mad. And I never let people on what I've got these little plans. What I want you to do is just hold down. You can put fills and do whatever you want. I don't want a solo. I want you to hold the groove down for 3 or 4 minutes. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to film it going round. And then I'm going to come in and build a track over what you've played.
Okay.
Right, so you won't know what it's like. So just hold down.
It'll be in 4/4.
It'll be in 4/4. Yeah, I'd quite like to do some dubby things with it. So so that you get to hear these drums in context. And I was thinking, how can we do? Yeah, this will be fun.
Okay,
So I'm going to build the track afterwards. And when you watch the video, you'll be excited. At least I'll have one viewer that's excited to get to the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So just pull this out of here. Yeah, you go play and I'll do it.